Radio Network.
Want to go out to a movie? Or maybe watch a movie at home, but you can't decide on what to watch? Head on over to freemovieinformation.com. The movie trailers and descriptions for thousands of movies, both current and older, are all in one place. freemovieinformation.com. Thousands of movie trailers, one location. freemovieinformation.com.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the All Digital Radio Network. Whether you're a brand new listener or a longtime fan, you've probably noticed that we have quite a lineup. Do you have a business, an organization, or a group that needs global exposure? Have you been priced out of the traditional radio market, or are you seeking a new, innovative way to reach your customer base in this advanced digital age? Radio advertising is one of the most inexpensive and effective ways to get your message out to the mass public. We have advertising packages for almost any budget with the same quality you've come to expect from the All Digital Radio Network. Give us a call today at 312-324-0180, or you can email us at advertising@alldigitalradio.com. Let the All Digital Radio Network broadcast your business message to the world crystal clear.
Did you know that the federal government gives away over $400 billion in grants each year to private citizens like you? Go to findthegrant.com. These programs require no credit check, no collateral, no cosigner. What you need is the correct information found at findthegrant.com. If you're a U.S. taxpayer, you are entitled to your slice. Get the information to get started today. www.findthegrant.com.
You are listening to the All Digital Radio Network.
The virus has completely devastated over 150 of the world's major regions and is spreading rapidly. At this point in time, we know of only one method of killing the creatures, or to destroy the brain. Be on the guard of any loved ones who may have recently been in any sort of contact or be infected. And if you find yourself out in a threatened position, please do not hesitate to act. Again, this is not a test. This is not a joke. We as a species are overwhelmed. We are outnumbered.
Walker Wednesday starts now.
Oh my God, they're everywhere.
Oh my God, I want to scream every time I hear that. And here we go. This past Sunday, March 1st, we saw Remember. I'm not really getting the title of this compared to what I saw on the screen. And, well, we've been waiting 3 days to talk about it. And with me tonight, we've got little Miss Wendy King, all the way from the heart of Walker Country itself.
Yeah, Georgia. That's right. Hello, everybody.
And we've got Mr. C.B. Snow from the Great White North.
Evening, all.
How many feet you still got up there?
Oh, I don't know. The rain took some down today, but there's probably 2.5 feet in my yard and about 4 feet on the side of my driveway. And we're getting more tomorrow, so don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah, it's 80 degrees down where Wendy is.
Yep.
It was above freezing all day today.
Oh, wow.
That's the first time I can remember this year.
Oh, since before January.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I might have to move up there. I'd move to Canada, but there's just too many Canadians. By the way,
I have a theory on the title. Just remember, they're remembering what they used to be like.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Thanks for jumping in.
Hi, Wendy.
And by the way, my name is Locke, and, well, I'm just here to talk Walkers. Let's talk about the opening scene. I love the opening scene. Their opening scenes are so dramatic.
Yes.
I mean, not just this one, but every single one. It sets the theme for the entire show. It's kind of like it's kind of not like the first 30 seconds of every Simpsons where they start talking about something and they shift off to something else completely. But this one, stays on track. And we see the group as they start to enter the Alexandria Free Zone. Oh, nice echo. Now, I figured out where that echo is coming from. That echo actually comes from the ADR server because I've seen it light up every time it feeds back. So somewhere in Daryl's basement, we can hear a reverb. But we see the entire group walk into the Alexandria Free Zone, and if you watch The Talking Dead, you will know it's one of the questions on their quiz. Glenn goes in first. And it's kind of spooky. Did you notice? I mean, there's been a lot of speculation on the internet of what Carl actually saw when he looked over at the window of that little house right before he walked in.
Okay, I completely missed that.
Well, when they're walking in, Carl kind of glances over, and I put in the show notes that it was Enid, a girl who we'll meet later on in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Enid was looking at him, but a lot of people seem to believe it was the ghost of his mother.
Oh.
It was Lori looking at him because he just glances over at that little house, that little ragtag house right next to the entrance, and he sees the image of a female. I thought it was Enid. I'm going to have to get back and look.
This is what I'd like to know. When the show just prior to this ended, you could hear the children laughing and playing just on the other side of the wall, and they go through the gate. Where are the kids?
Well, we see a couple of little kids, but they say there's no babies.
And but I mean, you heard little kids. They sounded like, I don't know, they were, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, whatever, just being kids.
You would know this because...
I have a grandson who's 4 years old.
There you go. You got to say hello to LJ before we miss it at the end of the show.
Hi, LJ. He was over here last weekend.
Aw.
Did you let him watch The Walking Dead?
No. He's into Spider-Man now.
Good call. I got to find some Spider-Man stuff for you guys.
Well, we got to find out who that was in the house. That really piques my curiosity.
CB's got a good point. I didn't even throw this in the show notes this week. You hear these kids, and I was like, maybe there's nobody on the other side of this gate. Maybe that's a recording. We do know there's at least one kid, Carl's age, and he's got a younger brother. No telling how old he is. We know there's nobody, from what they told us, as young as Judith. And her cheeks are going to take a wearing for being the youngest one in the entire group. But right as they're walking in, you kind of see Rick just give a head nod to Sasha. Sasha turns around, takes out a walker at 30 yards. And,
nice shot, too.
Yeah, nice shot. And Nicholas is just like, holy crap. And then Rick, what does Rick say? It's a good thing we're here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that road that they take right into town, is that Route 16?
Don't know.
Okay, because they said they cleared Route 16. Well, there's a walker standing right there wandering up to him, so they didn't do too good a job clearing it.
Yeah, well, we see throughout the episode, they don't do too good a job of anything except building that damn wall. But, this sets the overtone for tonight's show. But, how weak is Alexandria? Is it a matter of brains over brawn? Is the leader, or the governess, as you might want to call her, of Alexandria, is she smarter than Rick and his crew, or is it their brawn, or are they going to use their brains in this? This is what really set up like a little chess match with me.
But you missed one thing right at the beginning, which is in the show notes.
The best line of the whole night.
I brought dinner.
Yeah, Daryl. I mean, he plays the misfit throughout the entire thing. I thought a walker was going to pop out at him like last time, but no, it's a possum.
And zip, he gets it dead center.
And he carries that thing right into his little meeting with Deanna.
He's not letting dinner go.
He's
being a very polite guest. He brought something to share with his hosts. He brought dinner.
He sure as hell ain't going to bathe before dinner, I'll tell you that. But in the very next scene, we meet Deanna Douglas, an Ohio congressperson. She'd like to be called a congressperson. Uh-huh. And we speculated on this last week because there's a lot of chatter on the internet that Douglas, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was supposed to be the congressman who led Alexandria, and we assumed they were going to do a gender swap. And we hear Deanna, who's now female. It's kind of like Starbuck, Remember Starbuck was Dirk Benedict, and then it became, Hotsy Totsy Starbuck. Mm-hmm. And they do this here. They like to spin that on us every once in a while, especially since we know what's coming in the comic book. And it turns out that in the comic book, where it is a male figure, he has a wife named Regina. And now we see that there's going to be Reg, as in Reginald, I would assume. And that was Regina Monroe was in the comic book, and it was Douglas Monroe. But now I believe this is Deanna Douglas, who's in the actual TV show, if I've got that right. And she explains that this was one of these PC types of neighborhoods where they had self-contained plumbing, self-contained solar panels. You know, they had their own electricity through the solar panels. They had their own regeneration. They had their own water purification system. This is where I want to live if the zombie apocalypse breaks open.
As long as the wall's there.
Yeah, but apparently there was a shopping mall going up, and there was all this extra steel left over, and her husband, and we don't see her husband, so we don't know if her husband is dead.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at, the group of people throughout the show that they have left there. None of them are building that wall.
No.
So what happened to the people who built that wall?
Well, we know they've had some deaths, and they know she even says that 3 of them get exiled. Now, this has got the internet all abuzz because they think one of these 3 men exiled is going to turn out to be Negan. What if one of these 3 men exiled turns out to be her husband? She had to kick her own husband out. Or one of these 3 men actually killed her husband. Or we just haven't met him yet because, half the group is staying clear of our folks because they're letting them kind of get assimilated.
That's what they say. I'm still not buying that 100%.
Yeah, that one I'm not buying either. But
and she said that they were exiled because, what did she say? They didn't fit in. So that was kind of interesting, too.
Sort of like Daryl.
Yeah.
He doesn't fit in.
Well, they could have been antisocial. They could, in the comic book,
Daryl.
They got rid of Alexander, who created Alexandria, who founded it, and 2 other people because they would give jobs to people they didn't want to do themselves. They weren't team players, and they were very, very abusive to women and other members of the group. So it's probably for that very same reason. They're not going to come out and call somebody a rapist on even on cable TV, but that's probably what it is if they stick to what the comic book was. And then, I don't know if you all caught this, but Deanna tells Rick it's 3:37 p.m. and it's time for you to make a decision if, in fact, you're the one that decides for your group. What does Rick do? He sets
his watch. Yeah, I did catch that.
He symbolically...
And I thought immediately back to that broken grandfather's clock that was in the road when they were on their way to Noah's family's living area. Yeah, which symbolized to me that time doesn't matter. Yeah. And now that they're in Alexandria, time does matter again.
Symbolically, he came back to civilization.
Wow.
And then what do? Just right after the first apocalypse casting couch session, they give up their guns. Who gives up their guns? You don't give up your guns.
I was surprised that they agreed to that.
Well, Daryl kept his crossbow and his possum.
And Michonne kept her sword.
I didn't notice that, but they all kept their knives.
I believe she did keep her sword. I mean, Carl kept his knife because he protected himself with it later on in the show.
And then Carol, she already starts her act.
Yep, that was awesome.
This is what, I don't know, did they come in with this plan, or is this one of those things where they didn't have to talk to each other and they all, Rick, Carol, and Daryl went their separate ways and started doing their own acts in order to, fool anybody that might be watching them.
Yeah,
that's
Carol,
what
the dead mother.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Yeah. She's got the biggest gun of anybody there, and it just sort of slips off her shoulder and falls into the bin, and she gives this little, oops, I'm so silly, I'm so sorry.
And the chubby girl's looking at her like, you worthless.
Yeah, I should have brought a bigger bin.
And I don't understand. We have a question in the dirt box, Beatrice. What are the tapes for?
When they filmed them.
My personal take on that is that Deanna studies facial expressions. And
Did you watch Talking Dead after the show, Locke?
I caught a little. I didn't watch it straight through or study it the way I usually do.
Okay, well, what they said in Talking Dead was that the tapes were there so that people who lived in the community could watch them later on if they chose to see how her interview went with these people so that they could form their own opinions. Because based upon what I've seen so far in this one episode, Deanna is a very weak leader, that it wouldn't take much to basically push her off the top spot there.
Well, that sets up what happened in the comic book, and we'll get to that. Toward the end of the show, we usually throw that comic book stuff in there because we never know where the writers of the show are going to go in retrospect of the comic book. But it also could be that Deanna can read facial expressions. I mean, she's obviously a people person. She knows how to read people. It's basically her only strength. She may not be able to, stand up with a gun and fight off a horde, but apparently this community's been going since the first days of the outbreak, so somebody's got to be doing something right. And then she may have just be on her last leg, and they've run out of their muscle, and this is why they need to bring someone in that can survive out there. This is why they brought in an entire group that could basically overrun them, which is a big, huge chance because I'm sure they've encountered people before. But it was kind of interesting. They said that Northern Virginia was basically evacuated of millions of people. So they basically said they haven't seen people or even that many walkers, or I believe they call them roamers, since the whole thing started, as compared to Atlanta that was just overrun. But then we go to the McMansions. And this... I got a feeling this is what Wendy's house looks like, one of these old McMansions here.
No, that's the guest house out back.
Those are nice.
But
very nice.
Did anybody notice they're fixated on picture frames?
Yeah.
I can understand you took the frames out of the people that used to live there to, not give new people, bad blood. But they show them in every preview. They show them in every scene you've seen, you get those picture frames in. We even see some getting shot in the next episode.
I know. I'm not sure what that means.
Well, it's interesting because just for fun the other day, I went back and I watched the first episode of The Walking Dead, episode 1, season 1. And one of the things that Rick mentioned in that show was when he was in his house and they were trying to figure out if his wife and kid were dead or had left. And he said, look at the walls. All the pictures are gone. They took the pictures with them.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
And that was a big thing of his, that's why he thought his wife and son were still alive, that they hadn't been taken out, that they had gone out voluntarily.
Yeah, and she
now, whether or not it has anything to do with this episode in season 5, I don't know.
Well, were these people's pictures taken down for them and then the frames were just left there? That would be my question. Maybe these people didn't leave on their own.
Well, it looked like there were still pictures in the frames, but you couldn't really tell.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and check that out. But what got me was Carl. When's the last time you seen a teenage kid go crazy over running water?
Yeah.
I mean,
he was thrilled.
Cappuccino machine, cool. A Red Bull machine. Oh yeah, that'd be great. But no, just running water. And then I guess we got to Wendy's favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
The Rick's nude scene.
Yeah.
The shower scene for Rick. I see all that mud and stuff going down the drain, and then they have that shot from the outside of the shower. Yeah, I think a lot of women like that one.
Rick Grimeless right there. And
then
apparently, and I did catch this in the after show, and I saw it on an interview with Norman Reedus. He actually has that shaved beard.
Yes.
I bet it goes up on eBay sometime, around the season finale, and they donate it to charity.
Yeah, Daryl kept it has it in his refrigerator.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they said. Now, whether or not that's really true.
They actually showed a picture of it in his refrigerator in Atlanta.
They did?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
And he was telling them, after every season so far, after every one of the seasons, he gets a phone call when he's halfway back to New York, somebody on set going, "Did you steal another crossbow?" He goes, "Yeah, I stole another crossbow. Come and get it." He's got he's going to have 5 of them after this year. And they have to replace his crossbow because he keeps stealing the props.
Oh, wow.
Good for him.
That's great. Yeah, well, Rick looks totally different. I mean, I couldn't believe I've forgotten what he looked like.
Yeah, and they
was-
were making fun of him at the on set. He came and sat down with them for lunch, and they all got up and left.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh, they were just giving him. You could almost see the frustration when people on the show would notice him. But then he meets Jesse, the stylist, and 12 other things. That was kind of ominous because when the girl tells me she's a hairstylist and I do 12 other things too, that just gets my imagination running.
I'm sure, but I'm sure they're all, mentionable as opposed to unmentionable.
Hey, you never know.
True.
But this wasn't just a haircut. Did you see the frisky petting?
Oh, boy. There's some major sparks between those two,
Oh, yeah.
I think. Oh, yeah.
Now, this is, let's just break into this now, as we were talking about it a few minutes ago. What happens in the comic book? And put your spoiler ears on if you don't want to hear this, because this may or may not happen. But at this point in the comic book, Dale has died, who was married or hooked up with Andrea, who's also, they're both dead in the TV show. But Rick and Andrea get married. They become a couple. Okay? But that can't happen now because there isn't more Andrea.
Yeah.
And what does happen for Rick to take over Alexandria, Jesse's husband, I believe his name is Peter, he tries to kill Rick. And in the process, kills the male version of Deanna's wife. So Reg, if he's still around, if we meet him in the show, Reg would get killed, but it was Regina in the comic book. I know this is getting confusing now. And then Rick kills Peter. I mean, he just gun to the head, pow, just blows him away. And this is when the congresswoman, who it would be now, says, I can't be leader. I'm not strong enough, Rick. You're in charge. And that's how Rick takes over Alexandria.
Oh, wow.
In the comic book, it's because of Peter. But we don't know how it's going to play out.
Well, you had also said the comic book Alexandria lasts for years.
Yeah.
I can't see them doing that in this show. I would think it would become too repetitive.
Well, we know they got to be flushed with some type of nemesis, probably by the season finale, and that's what we've got this Sunday, and then two more shows, and then the season finale will be 4 shows from now.
The hour-and-a-half season finale.
Oh, it's an hour and a half.
Oh,
man. I have to stay up late. But there's got to be some, and Norman Reedus even says, bring your tissues and prepare to yell at your TV screen. If it is some way to introduce Negan as one of the 3 that were outlawed from this group, and maybe he's part of the wolves that they keep teasing, we're going to see some type of nemesis outside the walls. And obviously we're already seeing friction inside the walls. But what are we going to do? I mean,
you can't have 2 or 3 or 4 seasons of, or however much longer they're going to keep running this show, of them in Alexandria, because I think it would get stale at that point. I mean, they've got to basically. I think they're on the search for the cure.
Well, if you take what they've done in the comic book, it becomes one crusade after another. They just seem to be more fortified in this one spot. And again, they could go on to something else. But you see them fight off Negan's crew, and then they run into a bigger crew, and they have another epic battle, and then they end up intermingling afterwards. It's kind of like when they intermingled with the governors. Tara was part of the governor's attack force, and now she's part of them. They seem to switch sides in some branch off, and I think you'll see a lot more of that character interaction where they can't kill off the adversary, like they couldn't kill off the governor the first time he came back again. You may see one come back again and again in classic comic book style. But we don't know where they're going to take it, because they're doing an excellent job at writing drama right now. They're not writing comic books. They're writing drama. So, I mean, there's no telling where they might take artistic license and just do exactly what you said, CB, and go, hey, we'll spend 8 episodes here, and then we're done.
Yeah, well, you can't let the show go stale.
No, I agree. And they've taken big steps outside of the comic book. Like we said, there is no Daryl in the comic book, and he's the heart and soul. Past Rick, he's the heart and soul of the entire show. I think Carol just died in the first. She would have died in the first season if they did it by the comic book. And she's still there, and she's the heart. She's a heart and soul part. A hearty part of the entire experience. And Michonne was definitely part of the comic book, and who couldn't be ignored because she's got dreadlocks and a samurai. I mean, come on, you can't ignore her.
No, I wouldn't want to.
Well,
yes, ma'am. Whatever you'd like, ma'am. What can I do for you now, ma'am?
But we got the then we get Daryl's interview.
Yeah, he's pacing like a caged animal.
Oh yeah, he don't want anybody reading him. And again,
well, the thing is, he that's not his. Before the apocalypse, that was not his style. He would not have been comfortable in an area like that. After the apocalypse, it's no different. That's not him. He wants to be out in the woods.
That's a good point. I mean, that is a good point. I mean, he grew up he lived in a house, but it was a white trash house in a poor, rundown neighborhood with a father that beat him and a brother that beat him, and he probably got thrown a TV dinner to microwave himself or heat the oven himself, and that was all he got for a day or two at a time.
Or he went hunting possum.
There you go. He can hunt possum. And, now he's flushed in, but there seems to be a little more going on. He's exceptionally standoffish. Mm-hmm. And he's almost like he's putting on a show the same way Carol's putting on a show. The same way Rick might be putting on a show. That's what I'm reading off of the three of them right now. And then he's just there for the boy and the baby. Standoffish and hard to read. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if that's part of their plan that they went into. But then we flash back to the two houses. And they're still sitting there. They're still skeptical, because Carol and Carl go into the second house, and Carl finds the kids' room with the comic book.
Oh, yeah.
And you caught this one, didn't you, Wendy?
Oh, yeah. The name on the comic book, Wolf Fight.
So they're back to the whole wolf thing.
There's going to be some wolves very soon.
Which a lot of people are thinking the wolves will be Negan and the wolves instead of Negan and the Saviors. They might just conglomeratize the whole thing. Oh, and the Whisperers. I didn't realize this. The Whisperers are a bunch of freaks who put on Walker's skin and walk around, and they put W's on the real walkers so their own people won't shoot them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's creepy.
Yeah, that's got to stink.
We'll probably run into both of those groups. Which one first, though?
Well, a lot of buzz on the internet is they're going to form them all into one.
Mm.
It may be just to consolidate the story.
Exactly. But, Beatrice is buzzing me again. Oh, so we go and see that, let's see here. Jolene asked in the inbox if Eric went outside to report to someone. Or if Enid went outside. We'll get to Enid in a minute, Jolene. Keep your knickers on.
Don't be rude.
No, well, we'll get to Enid in 1 second, but we do find that if you're wondering why I'm struggling, I've only got one eye right now, and that's a really long story. So I'm kind of trying to read the fine print.
Well, let me ask you this: when Carl goes up to that kid's room, he hears something.
He thinks he hears something.
What did he hear?
Not sure. That was one of the things that didn't make sense. But I think I'm reading into every little aspect of it now.
Yeah.
He might have just, heard something flapping around up there because we didn't see anybody up there and nobody else came running out.
I heard a noise. It sounded like someone could have been knocking or walking around up there.
Oh, maybe.
I understand why he went up there to the door with his knife out.
Maybe Enid was up there and she was hiding. But did you notice Carol stealing the paper?
Yeah, I did. I don't know why.
No, I didn't.
When they were in the house, and then she's writing on it later because that they spy on him with those eavesdropping equipment, right?
Right.
So what if they're listening to him the whole time? She's sitting there and she's writing everything down and showing notes. That could be in case they're being spied on.
Smart.
But you see her kind of like drawing on it later. But could be, could not be. Again, she's putting on that ruse for some reason. And Deanna shows up at the house, and they've all decided to bunk together because hey, look, they took our guns. They're trying to separate us. This ain't going to work. We're all going to sleep in one house. Notice, even though Rick and Daryl seem to be bumping heads, they always come back together.
Yeah.
Throughout the show. And so she comes in there, and she's a very personable. You want to like her, but in this world, you don't want to like her.
Who, Carol?
No, the Deanna.
Oh, Deanna. Yeah.
When Deanna's come
thing
in.
Is, I remember her from Law and Order because she played a defense attorney in Law and Order, so I still see that when I see her.
I don't remember that.
It was she and Jack McCoy had kind of a thing going on, but she ended up being killed by the mob.
Oh, now she might get killed by zombies. Oh, that's just so sad. But she's in there. She's telling everybody she's getting them jobs, and
says she's trying to figure Daryl out.
Yeah, she can't figure Daryl out, so that must be working.
Yeah.
And we know she's got something in mind for Sasha because we see Sasha going on a secret mission in the previews for next week.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what happens to Rick and
destroying picture frames. Is that
I guess so. There's these picture frames and they're made of oak, and I like teak, so make sure you get the oak picture frames and take them out.
Wow.
No more oak frames anywhere in the world. But what I want to know is what's up with Rick not being able to sleep.
Yeah. He's uneasy. I mean, it's just, he's not sure about this.
He wakes up, he goes for the kitchen knife, that's it. And then we switch right over to Michonne's interview. And we're ready for this. Are all of you ready for this? Yeah, we're all ready for this. Like, we're all ready for this. I don't care what Daryl says. You don't hear a lot from the rest of the crew. And I swear I thought I saw Tyrese in the background when they were all hunkered down.
Oh, in the house?
Yeah.
That first night.
Yeah.
The ghost of Tyrese.
I thought I saw Tyrese. Just popped into my head just a minute ago, but I probably didn't. But watch the show again anyway, just to make sure. And like I said, I was reading into everything, because we're fixated on these wolves. And the next morning, Rick wakes up. He's again buddying it up with Daryl, because they're in front of the Alexandria people. They're complete polar opposites. And then when they're alone, they're, making sure they're best friends again. Mm-hmm. He's telling him, me and Lori, we used to ride around in neighborhoods looking for places like this, maybe one day. He's like, well, here you are. Here you are. I'm getting the heck out of here and finding me a shack as soon as I can. But then there's a girl that walks by with a big old wolf-looking dog.
Uh-huh.
She just walks straight by. You see her for a second. And probably nothing. But I'm looking for plot in everything at this point.
Oh, there's probably something there.
I mean, there shouldn't be plot in every little thing.
Why are they wasting resources on a pet dog?
That's just
unless the dog's performing a useful function.
I mean, it might have been one of the ones that got ate the week before and they felt sorry for it. But I don't know why the little girl just walks around and Rick looks at it and loses Carl. And is that where he lost Carl and Judith?
They were going out for a walk to wander around, and Carl and Judith, you could see, are ahead of them. And Rick stops and talks to someone or does something. I don't remember what it was. And Carl and Judith turn the corner, and then that's when Rick freaks out.
Mm-hmm.
Runs all over. Who has time to make a sculpture in a zombie apocalypse?
Oh, I know.
It's for the kids, teaching the kids stuff.
Yeah, but they can't get the eyes right to shoot them. That's how it works in this world. Carl, get those eyes right. I'm gonna take you out. But he tells about the old folks' home down there and how they used to have so many kids and so many grandkids, and they haven't seen a baby in so long. And that's pretty touching. It won't. It's part of the story that makes you want to like Alexandria. You can see they're trying to get our heartstrings attached to Alexandria. Because this is a good place. Yeah, I know. We're so skeptical at this point. We wouldn't trust them either. But then poor Carl. Oh God, this next scene, man. He's fought off zombies. He's had to kill his own mother. He's almost had to kill his own father. He's watched his father rip some guy's throat open with his own teeth. And then he goes up to meet Ron and his friend Mickey and little Enid, who's only been there for 3 months. Who I thought Deanna said they haven't let anybody in a long, long time. I didn't know she meant 3 months ago. And Enid is a bitch.
She's not pleasant.
No. Poor Carl, he looks like he's shell-shocked. And then Enid gives him the old pull it together sport. And he musters, that little strength from inside, and he says, well, let's play some video games.
Well, what I like is the teenage boys say, we can go to my house and play pool because my dad's at work. Like normal things that teenagers would do nowadays, except his work is, God only knows what his work is. But, they're going to sneak over to his house and play pool.
Yeah, and Carl's just stumped. He's just like frozen.
And so the Wolf comic book belongs to Enid. And then we go to Carl's interview, where I do believe Rick and Daryl and Carol are playing parts for these video cameras, and nobody else is. Everybody else seems to be extremely truthful, and, Carl tells Deanna that he had to kill his own mother. That's really got to pull some heartstrings on the Alexandria people right there.
Yeah.
And then, Carl has a little heart-to-heart with his father and said, these people are weak, Dad. I mean, they are weak.
Because how old is Carl at this point?
What do you think? 13? I was going to say like 13.
Well, we know. Yeah, I'm going to have to say 13 or 14. But even though he's growing like a weed.
Yeah, he's a relatively young teenager, you would say, at least looking at him.
Because he had to be 10 years old when they started, and that couldn't have been more than 2 years ago because, Lori had to get pregnant and have the baby, and the baby's close to a year old by now.
Yeah. Because the baby's not walking yet. She's close. And they start walking when they're around a year.
Yeah, the problem with Carl is he's growing older faster than the show is progressing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe it's part of the virus. It makes you grow really, really tall. I have to throw that in there.
Don't think so.
We need an extra.
No, just looking at him and trying to be a young teenager, and he is so grown up and mature because of the hard life that he's lived for, his formative years. And he's dealing with these kids that are worried about video games and playing pool. And it's like, I don't worry about these things anymore. I carry a knife. I stab them in dead people's heads.
Well, let's sit and talk to the experts for a second. Okay, CB, how old is a kid when he usually starts walking?
Could be 18 months, maybe.
And how old when they get a full head of steam and ram you in the groin?
About 3 years old.
Okay. So when Judith does that, we'll know when she's 3 years old.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, she's got to be the proper height, too.
CB is the expert.
Yep.
Thanks to LJ.
Oh, yes, gosh. Yes.
And don't give him a football helmet for Christmas.
No, certainly not.
Can you imagine a Colonel Klink helmet?
Just wear a cup.
But we see Carl's interview, like I said, and then he tells his dad, these people are weak. We don't want to be like them. And then Rick's up again. He can't sleep. He's out walking now. Who lets a newcomer walk all over the place with sharp kitchen appliances?
Yeah.
Who's going to stop him?
Yeah, it's true, too. But he meets Mr. Jesse.
Yeah.
Who we talked about earlier. That would be Peter Anderson. And
he just seems very ominous. He's in the dark, in the middle of the night, on the porch, smoking a cigarette. I don't like
cigarettes.
Hey, my wife gave you a haircut.
Yeah, he's not Mr. Friendly.
Welcome to Alexandria. Don't even say a word. Cool hand Rick. He just walks off.
Yeah, the guy was real friendly.
Apparently, in the comic book, he is very, very abusive to his wife and child.
Oh.
So we're going to see how. And she don't look like she's one that takes a lot of crap.
No, she just cut his hair.
Yeah, or other things. You never know.
Yeah, 1 of 12 other things.
I wonder, it's a Walker apocalypse. I wonder if she cuts it off and throws it away, it would, get up and walk away from the phone.
I could use some of it.
Oh, but here's one I know y'all want to talk about. Carol's interview.
Yeah.
Carol's interview.
That was funny.
The Junior League. Yep, I know exactly what she's talking about. I'm in the Junior League. I'm going to a Junior League event on Friday night.
Yeah, but do you carry a fully automatic AR-15 when you go there?
Oh my gosh, that was so. She was so. Oh, that was a question from the walkie-talkie box too. So I was confused at first too, but she's bluffing. And I just miss him every day. She talked about her husband.
I love my husband. I love my kid. I used to cook him dinner all the time. I'm a people person.
Yeah, as long as the people are dead.
And I can chop them in the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the question from the walkie-talkie box. So she is putting on a show.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
she's playing it safe.
Yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, she was doing that. She was playing. She's just oopsie.
She's the wolf in sheep's clothing.
That threw me off too. And when I first watched it, she was saying, Ed, and I just miss him every day. I was like, what? What is wrong with it? And then, she said she would have dinner waiting for him every day when he got home. She would do laundry.
And Eric, laundry and cleaning.
Eric's listening to us in the dirt box and in the poop finger as well. You don't want to know what that is. And he says that he went online and found out that here in season 5, Carl is 14 years old.
Okay.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's 13, 14, so we were right.
Yep.
But then one of my favorite scenes out of this whole show, Carol Brady and messy Marvin Darrell on the porch. You look ridiculous. You take a shower, I'm going to hose you down.
Oh, gosh.
There's a lot of women out there that want to see Darrell get hosed down by Carol.
Yeah, why won't Darrell really need to take a shower?
I think he's playing a role too. I think all
it's
three of
only been a few years.
And then Carol with her sweater and her khakis, and what was she going off to the senior citizen?
Yeah, she was going to. She's basically Meals on Wheels.
Oh yeah,
for the place. The only thing she didn't do is she didn't have just the top button of her sweater buttoned, which I think would have been perfect to set it off. Yeah,
but she's very smart. So this way she's going to get to know, snoop around, get to know some of these people.
Like I said, she'll become part of the background, and people will talk around her and say all sorts of stuff because it's just Carol, and she'll just be part of the background scene.
And she started doing this the minute she took her gun off, because even that chubby chick looked at her like, you pathetic little nobody can't even take a gun off from around your shoulder. How did you ever make it out there? It was kind of like an us versus them thing, and they were already looking down on her, not knowing she's one of the biggest badasses in the whole group.
Right,
she
and that's
blew up Terminus.
Yep.
By herself.
That's how she was back in the very beginning, with Ed. She was beaten down. She was weak.
She knows how to play it. Mm-hmm. Then we switch over to see Glenn getting interviewed. And he's a little more honest. Mm-hmm. You notice they didn't have time to do a lot of these big, drawn out interviews. Some of them just said a few words and that was it. They were gone. We didn't even see Maggie get interviewed, poor thing. Yeah. They didn't have time for her crazy. I was Glenn, blah, 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 my sister, blah, 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 blah. I think she's the nuttiest one in the whole group. But Glenn just says, we were out there. We were almost out there too long. He's got a good point, because they were about ready to go cannibal.
Wow.
And who knows if they would have went, they were eating dogs, couple more weeks without food, and who knows what would have happened. But then we get to go on field trips. Because they had said they can get their gun backs anytime they want to leave the walls.
See, I just thought that was strange. So you can just kind of come and go in and outside of the walls when you want to.
Well, one, they don't trust the people. They don't know if they can trust them. They don't know if if they can be trusted or whatnot. And plus, you don't want anybody to get into a bar fight. You don't want any domestic disputes leading to somebody getting shot in the heart and all of a sudden eating 5 people. Because, if you're not a good shot and you want to kill your husband and you shoot him in the foot and he dies, he's going to eat you, and not in a good way.
Oh.
But, Rick goes after the gun in the blender. Did anybody notice that?
Oh, yeah, and it's gone.
It's gone. The same time, Carl goes after Enid in a full backpack. And he can't keep up with her.
Yeah.
The thing that bothered me about Enid and when she left is she went out this hidden side panel that is obviously loose that nobody knows about except for her.
She climbed right up it. She brought her own spikes and climbed. She scaled. She put her own spikes in and used them as steps.
No, I understand that, and I remember seeing that. But the panel was loose, which means to me it's a way a walker can get through. The fence is not as secure as they are led to believe.
I don't remember it being that loose, but I'll go back and look at that again.
Yeah, she moved it easily to get out. So it's a way for someone else to get in.
See, my theory at this point is those 3 men that were exiled somehow have a camp out there, and one of them is Negan. Then his army is the one that destroyed Wiltshire. So she might be part of their army. She might be part of the group that's going to attack, the Nemesis group that's lurking out there, and she might be giving them supplies from inside.
Okay.
And she might be taking food out to them or giving them plans or so forth. I forget that show that Slim and I were watching about the expedition that went back to prehistoric times. This is so reminiscent of that. At this point, they had this city that these walls around the dinosaurs would come up and they would zap them. It only lasted 2 seasons, but it was a great show. I forget
Dinosauria?
No, it was on Fox, and naturally it was a decent show, so it only lasted a year and a half.
Okay.
But Slim and I used to watch it. I
don't think they went back in time. Didn't they go to another planet?
No, they went back in time because the Earth had used up all its resources. They went back to like prehistory.
Okay.
And they were mining, and they mined everything in the future, so they went back in the past to mine it before they could mine it in the future. Didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but they had a little community there, and it was walled just like this, and it reminds me a lot of it. In fact, one of the outlaws was made the constable in that too. But, I gave away a plot, but everybody knows what happened. But that's my theory. She's somehow in cahoots with the 3 people or the Nemesis group outside the walls at this point. And then, why the hell didn't Rick beat the crap out of Carl for being outside the camp?
I know.
Just kind of run into each other.
And he's just like it was no big deal. Why? Yeah.
Carl's
maybe
keeping practice.
Maybe his dad thought he was just out there looking out for him or whatever. Rick couldn't find his gun, which, those people outside the walls probably, the Nemesis group probably have it. We'll see that gun again sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll recognize it, too, because it has a big letter J on it.
That I did not know. I was going to have to go back and look at that. Thank you.
Yeah, I read that on one of the other things. There's a big big black J on the handle. So that if it does show up again, you'll know that it's that particular gun.
Did you keep score when Carl and Rick got into the fight? It was 3.5 for Carl, 1.5 for Rick.
Nope. And I really like, I never, in all the times I've spent with my son, who's now 30, I never quite bonded with him like Carl and Rick did there, just killing zombies together. Here, son, you have the last one.
Let's get them.
Yeah.
The ultimate bonding experience.
Yeah, and that was actually Ian Scott from Anthrax.
I read that. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, the one underneath the carpet.
Yeah, he had a little web thing that he did a couple of months ago, and everybody's been waiting for his thing to pop up, and that was him.
That was creepy when that carpet moved and his hand comes out.
Yeah, that, we get one of those in every show where somebody thinks they're going to get bit, and, they only get bit like 1 out of every 5 or 6 times.
The question that I have is when Rick put the gun in the blender there, was that Walker underneath the carpet then?
I think he was on tour in Portland then.
Okay. So
with
how'd he
anthrax.
get there?
Don't know. I was thinking that myself. Did somebody wrap him up in there and have him wait for somebody to come back and find the gun?
Maybe that was it. It was a trap that was laid.
I was thinking the same
Try to
thing.
find the gun, look around to see if it's somewhere on the ground, and boom, the walker gets you.
Oh, I bet it was a trap. Good one.
But then we got another group outside the walls on a little field trip. And I like Tara. She's my favorite one on the whole show. Mm-hmm. She's hot. She was on Talking Dead.
Yeah.
And so it was Glenn, Tara. And Glenn and Tara seem to be teaming up a lot lately without Maggie anywhere in the picture. But it was Glenn, Tara, and Noah go out with the double douche team.
Oh.
And this is Deanna's son, Aiden, and Nicholas, who was the one who first said, give us your guns.
I'm ROTC.
I almost made lieutenant before all this crap fell down.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like either one of them.
He's just like, he's been playing video games the whole time. It's like he hasn't seen anything.
Well, of the group there that you meet, he actually is the toughest one, which
That's
isn't
sad.
saying much. You're right. It is sad. But, I mean, that's the way that it looked to me, is that he's the toughest. He's the most militarily trained and knows how to handle himself the most of any of them outside the walls. And if that's true, they're in big trouble.
Because you can see right on his face, he's a rich kid of a congressman and a contractor who builds shopping malls, who probably hasn't, had any real life experience of his own at all. He says things like, "This is how we're going to weight your sack," to Tara, no less. And he referred to a gun as a sweet-ass biscuit.
Which I didn't even get.
What's that?
A sweet-ass biscuit.
Yeah, his gun was a sweet. We picked up these sweet-ass biscuits.
That's just
Who calls a gun that? I
Nobody.
Mean, I was going to say, is that some phrase that I've never heard? Okay,
No,
good.
It's
And
douche switch.
What was
And
the weight your sack?
Weight your sack, grow your balls.
Oh, oh God. He says that to Tara?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing about it is, Tara looks at this gun and says, this little thing? Why don't you give me something like a 45 or,
Yeah, they all got little 9mm.
Yeah, I mean, what's the one that shoots the 50 caliber rounds?
50 cal?
No, not
you mean the Desert Eagle.
Yes, the Desert Eagle. Give me a Desert Eagle. I'll take care of things
Rick,
with that.
that's Rick's gun.
Yeah, I know.
But,
But just the look on her face when he hands her this gun,
Yeah,
it's
really.
like, ooh, it's got cooties.
Yeah, I mean, they could have got their own guns. They were told they could have their own guns if they go out. But this is like a test run. He's talking some decent standard operating procedures. We get out of the truck 2x2. We shoot the flare if something goes off. But we did lose 4 on our last run, so I guess that don't always work. But that was their fault. I mean, who the hell says that was their fault? Nobody said it was Tyrese's fault that he got whacked. Nobody said it was, Andrea's fault that she was stuck in there with some that the governor whacked her with the little nerdy zombie or nerdy walker. You don't say that. You don't blame the other people. That's one thing none of them have ever done. It's not somebody else's fault. It's the walker's fault. He said it was their fault. They were weak. They were afraid. So they string one of the walkers up. Then they got to go catch it. Then Tara almost gets bit. You can see that fight getting ready to come. Glenn's trying to take the upper, the high road. He's just trying to walk away from him. But he gets some good little licks in on him, though.
I didn't understand why they were tying up a walker to the tree.
So they could go back and take shots at it and not hit it in the head so that they could cause damage or whatever to torture it for because it killed one of their friends.
Okay.
Not that, we've
It's
already
revenge.
discussed this. These are people. Put them out of their misery.
Yeah.
That's the high road. And Glenn's like, dude, he tells Glenn, you're not cut out for making runs. He said, yeah, you better look at yourself. And then he gets all uppity, like the first time he's ever been told off. And then everybody kind of gets into it. Did you see Daryl sneaking up on him?
Yeah, Daryl.
But I liked it. Glenn's just looking at him, and it's just like, shut the F up. Boom.
Yeah, Glenn was just this little nerdy Korean kid before this all started, who could sneak into buildings, sneak into Atlanta, and get what they needed and sneak back out, and never had to confront anything. Then he gets into all these wars and all these battles, and now he's just waiting for some guy to take a swing at him so he can deck him.
Yeah, and it was very funny. It's just like, I'm tired of this. Shut up. Boom.
It's just like they're showing, one of the original weakest members of the team could take out, their top gun just like, that. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're basically, and that's what's getting me. Who's playing who? Is Alexandria playing our group, or is our group playing Alexandria? That's what I want to see in the next episode, how this whole thing kind of plays out.
Well, Alexandria may think that they're playing this group, but it ain't happening that way, because this group is sort of like the MacGyver of killing instruments, and they can fashion anything out of anything given enough time, and they'll wipe out Alexandria with no trouble whatsoever.
Bottle rocket, I'll blow up your whole railroad station.
That's what I mean.
But Enid sneaks back in with all the confusion, and Carl looks over at Enid. That's the worst part of the whole show. You don't like me, do you?
Teenage angst. And she walks away.
Yeah, she don't even say anything. And then Deanna makes Ricky Michonne the constable, putting them in charge. And again, who's playing who? We're going to have to see how that plays out. And then we get Rick's interview again, where he's saying, people out there, they'll only measure you up for what they can take from you. Don't let anybody in. Trying to warn her off, almost like, and she plays that like, oh, you're already looking out for us.
He's talking about them.
Yeah.
She probably realizes it, but isn't letting it on. But he's talking about them. Yeah, we'll take this place if we feel like it.
And exactly the very last scene, we get Rick, Carol, and Daryl. Rick's out there. And didn't we just talk a couple of weeks ago about not trusting anybody that was clean? Mm-hmm. And here's Rick, clean, spick and span. And Carol's like, this place is going to make us weak. And he said, no, we don't get weak. We're past that. And he said, we're going to make it here. And if they can't make it, we'll just take this place. Dum, dum, dum.
Yeah, what does he mean by that? Just take over the place?
Well, that's exactly what happens in the comic book.
Wow.
But we got a little bit to catch up on. The Walking Dead is up 2% in ratings. That's both in the 18 to 49 category and the overall total. And even though they slipped a little bit versus the Grammys and SNL 40, they were up 10% versus the Oscars last year to this year.
Oh, wow.
So ratings are going great. And we got any last thoughts on tonight's show, CB?
Well, I thought it was a lot more predictable as to what was going to happen in it. I mean, I think that things are pretty obviously laid out at this point. Alexandria is a weak place, and they brought these people in, and Deanna brought them in because she knows it's a weak place, and it's just a matter of time before they get overrun by either walkers or humans.
Yeah, they've never had to fight. They've never been out there.
This is their set of mercenaries, and she's got to play them like a fiddle, or she's going to get destroyed by them.
Yeah, we've seen some very interesting and creative writing, and now it's almost like they're laying simple little traps for us, simple little plot twists that they're falling right into. And they're going to lead up to the season finale, and they're going to yank the rug right out from under us. I can just see it now.
I know it.
But that is
Have
all
they
the
contracted season 6 yet?
I don't know. That's a good question. We'll have to look into that. But we have got 10 seconds left, so be sure and join CB this Monday at 10 p.m. on Off the Hook Radio. You can catch Wendy and myself every Sunday at 8 p.m. for the Dirt